Okay, son, let's do some more questions and answers for the folks. Come on over and sit down and let's get started. I've got some here, and I know you've got some. Let's start off with you. What have you got there?
Okay, I got a question from Chris. It says, "Hi Dave, this is Chris, and I'm interested in your sign making DVD series. I was wondering if the same principles can be applied to larger signs. I'm interested in making some signs for a church camp, and they need to be 4 to 5 inch letters. Do you have larger templates?" Well, the first part of your question is, do the same principles apply for large signs as they do for small signs? Yes. If you're carving large outset letters, then you're going to do the profiling on the outset letters just like you would if you were doing a 6-inch high sign or a 6-foot high sign. You're going to profile around the outside of the letters, then you're going to go back and do your cleanup. If you're carving inset letters, yes, the same principles apply. If you're carving a large inset letter, then you're just going to have to make in several passes, because you're going to do the left side of the edge of the letter and then move over to the right side, and then if there's still stuff left in between, then you just clean those out like you would if it was background on an outset letter. So the same principles apply whether you're carving small signs. I've carved signs very small up to signs the size of billboards. So yeah, the same rules apply. Now, as far as the second part of the question, do you have used larger templates? Yes, I do. Dad, you want to show them kind of some examples of what we're talking?
Let me pick this up and put it up here.
This is 18 inches high, and this is 1 inch high. Give you an idea of the size, and we can now have the availability to make any size layout letters that you need, that we need. If you have a different font style, or if you have a different size, anything pretty much that you need, we now have the availability to do that.
Up to about 22 inches. We don't want to get any bigger than that.
Right, right. So to answer your questions, yeah, big signs, you use bigger layout letters. Now you can always make your own templates too, but our techniques, our things that you'll learn on our videos will apply whether you're carving small signs or big signs. So I hope that answers the question. You're up, Dad.
Okay, this one is from a gal named Shauna, and she wants to know if there's restrictions about such things as Disney characters and sports team logos, etc. Well, yeah, the fact is that there are. All sports team logos and Disney characters and so on, they're all trademarked, and there's always restrictions when using them. Our advice is to always respect trademarks. Don't use anything that's trademarked, with 1 or 2 exceptions. Now, we have, on occasions, we've made signs that we used decals that had sports teams or Disney characters or pictures of somebody that has made a product that they have trademark usage rights on, like a decal, and we've used that and incorporated that on a sign. But since we bought the decals, we bought it from the company that had the right to sell that. We have the right then to put it anywhere we want. So that's the only exception that we recommend that you do. If you're going to use a decal, use one that's already made that you can buy and incorporate it in your sign. And the second part of the question was on coloring of the letters. And we're going to get more into that in another newsletter, but we use not only the colored ink for the background, that is, we'll profile around the letter and then we'll use colored ink in the background rather than black, or we will carve an inset letter and use colored ink in the inset letter. And for outset letters, if we want to color them, once the sign has a finish on them, there's an item called a paint pen. It's actually a pen that has paint in it. You shake it just like if it was a can, and then once you have the pen ready, you can put color on the surface of a letter. And we're going to make another video, a monthly newsletter, showing exactly how we do that. So keep tuned for that.
Okay, my turn?
Your turn.
Okay. Chris in Colorado writes, so my question is, what are your thoughts of using or making a sign with a CNC machine? I see many companies make wooden signs with trees and highly delicate pictures on them, so maybe this is a way to get those results. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go over the do's or the pros and cons for CNC as compared to freehand. The CNC machines are awesome. The little Carve Right machines or the CompuCarve that Sears sells, it's a great little machine. As a matter of fact, my sister runs a sign business using strictly the Carve Right machines out of Anchorage and does a great business. The limitations on those are that if the machine doesn't do exactly what you want and you don't have the router and or the skill to somehow alter it or make little changes to it, you're kind of stuck. So it can be very time consuming getting all the stuff in the computer, and it won't, sometimes outset letters are really a trick. So there's a lot of limitations there. Now on the plus side, the CNC machine, if you have a small artwork piece and you want to stretch it one way and shrink it the other way, it's very easy to do once it's in the computer. And coincidingly, freehand routing, it's tough to do that. It's time consuming to do that. We like freehand carved signs, but that's what we've done forever. And I think there's something to be said when a customer, and again, we're looking at it from a commercial standpoint, but when a customer sees that something is crafted by hand and there's some skill involved in doing it, I think it's a better product. Even if there's little imperfections and maybe there's a little bit more chances of mistakes, I like the fact that it's freehand routed and it's a craft item, and I think it's more sellable that way. But there's two different schools of thought there. With a computer, you got the problem, if your computer goes down, you run out of memory, you get a power loss, whatever, you're kind of in trouble. My sister has 5 machines that she keeps running, and sometimes the maintenance on those machines can get a little tricky. So I'm getting a little wordy here. We're going to have to move on.
Yeah, let me make a point on that too. If you get a CNC machine, the cheapest one you can find is $2,000 or thereabouts. And on top of that, you got to have the computer, you got to have the program. So you're looking at substantial investment as opposed to freehand carving. With freehand carving, once you learn the techniques, that's all you need to know.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
All right, we got time for one more? We're getting close. We're going to have to make
maybe
it quick.
I do. We got, here's one from Mike. It says, what router bit do you use on half-inch inset letters? Well, I use a 60-degree router bit for inset letters. And if you have a small inset letter, you just go down maybe 1/8 of an inch deep. If the letter is larger, like 1.5 inches or 2 inch, and you drop down to 1/8 of an inch and it doesn't fully, and if you're making a cut, like a straight cut like the I, and it doesn't fully clean it up, then you have to come down one side and go back up the other side so that you get both sides of the letter. So you can't always, on larger letters, you can't always get it in one cut. You have to use both cuts. Go ahead, son.
That's it. Well, we're pretty much, that's a couple questions for each of us. Isn't
Okay,
it? Yeah.
and I have another one here. The question, a real quick one. It says, how deep do you set the depth when you're profiling your letters? Well, on the profile bit that I grind, that you will know enough about once you see all of our video newsletters, I never go deeper than 3/16 of an inch. Sometimes a little bit less, depending on what you're carving. If it's a fine detailed graphic, you can go less, but never more than 3/16 of an inch deep when you're profiling around the letters. That's as deep as you ever need to go.
Okay. We'll probably do another video because we've got some more questions we want to go over, so stay tuned. We'll be back.